Hi there, my name is Chris Hildrew and I'm head teacher at Churchill Academy Sixth Form. The purpose of this video is to explain to you the principles behind our opening of the Academy in September to all pupils. We intend to try and keep as much familiar as possible. The curriculum will be as close to what we would normally deliver, but some adjustments will be inevitable. We'll be focusing on recovery from the coronavirus closure, with the aim of rebuilding relationships, confidence, and a sense of belonging in our academy community. There will be new expectations around improved hygiene and cleaning, and arrangements to reduce contact between different groups to minimise transmission. The core principle of the government guidance for secondary schools is to reduce mixing between groups. We will therefore, wherever it's possible to do so, keep year groups separate within the academy and take steps to prevent large groups of pupils from congregating together. That means that year groups will be taught separately from one another, and they will also have separate areas of the academy to go to at break and lunchtime. So central to the success of this planning is the full cooperation of our students with our expectations. The students who've already been attending school, both in our frontline and exam support provisions, have been exceptionally well behaved, cooperating superbly with our COVID-safe code of conduct that we've introduced. We have revised this code for September, and there's a copy available on the Academy website for you to view. We will expect the same level of cooperation from all our students in September and beyond. In this new world we're entering, we cannot tolerate silly behaviour or students not following instructions. Such behaviour could undermine all of our careful planning and put the health and safety of students and staff at risk. We are very clear that any breaches of the code or any behaviour which presents such risk will be dealt with very seriously, and we're prepared to use the full extent of the sanctions available in our behaviour policy and our procedures to enforce this in school. So social distancing is still really important in preventing the spread of coronavirus. However, social distancing will be required less in schools than previously, now that there are fewer cases of coronavirus present in our communities. Students will be able to sit next to each other at classroom desks. However, they will not be permitted to gather in large groups. The relaxation of social distancing requirements will enable us to use classrooms to their full capacity. Where possible, students will be seated side by side rather than face to face to reduce the risk of transmission. Transitions and movements between classes will be carefully managed. Students must be scrupulously punctual and enter classrooms promptly to avoid crowding in corridors or on staircases. All students will have designated seats within each of their classrooms, and they must sit in those designated seats every lesson. We're fitting hand sanitizer dispensers inside every classroom, and students will be expected to use the hand sanitizer every time they enter the room, every time they leave the room, and before and after eating. We're also ensuring that all classrooms have boxes of tissues and pedal-operated lidded waste bins. Everyone is expected to use the catch it, bin it, kill it approach. Cough or sneeze into a tissue and dispose of it in a bin. Public Health England does not recommend the use of face coverings in school based on the current evidence. Therefore, they're not required in schools as students are mixing in consistent groups, and because misuse of face coverings may inadvertently increase the risk of transmission. There may also be negative effects on communication and therefore on education. So therefore, we're saying that face coverings should not be worn in school. As previously announced, we'll be removing all biometric fingerprint readers, and from September, all students will be issued with a cashless payment card for use at catering outlets to prevent any inadvertent transmission via the fingerprint readers. All students will need to bring their own stationery and school equipment. An equipment list can be found on our website under the Uniform and Equipment page. This is essential because we cannot share out equipment such as scissors, glue sticks and so on as we normally would without having to sterilise them or quarantine them for 72 hours between each use, which is simply impractical. Equipment packs will be provided to all students who are eligible for the pupil premium free of charge and may be ordered by any student from parent pay. These will be distributed in September. We also advise that all students, wherever possible, bring their own packet of tissues and hand sanitizer to avoid crowding around the classroom dispensers for use. However, they will be available in the classrooms if any students forget or are unable to bring their own tissues and hand sanitizer. Vertical tutor groups are the foundation of our pastoral system at Churchill. We looked at reorganising tutor groups, but it would undermine the very basis of our pastoral care system. Therefore, vertical tutoring will remain in place. Students will be seated according to their year group. For example, all Year 7 students within one tutor group will be sat together. Year 8 students will be sat together, but separated from one another. Social distancing will therefore be used between the year groups within the tutor groups. House assemblies will not take place in the Academy Hall, as it's not currently advised to bring such large groups of students together. We'll instead be providing video assemblies, rather like this one, which we broadcast in lessons and tutor periods to provide a consistent and common message to reach all of our students. The timing of the school day has changed from September and will be the same on every day, Monday to Friday, as you can see on the slide. These timings are also available on the Academy website. During breaks and lunchtimes, each year group will be assigned a designated area for dining. Families might wish to consider providing a packed lunch to reduce queuing and crowding at food service points. Each year group will be assigned a designated social area for good weather and for wet weather. It's essential that each year group remains in its own designated area and does not mix. When moving around the site and at social times, we'll be asking students to take responsibility for ensuring that they gather in groups of no more than 4 students together. These groups must consist of students all from the same year group. They don't need to stay in the same group of 4 all the time. Students can change their social groupings within their own year group as often as they wish. If students gather in a group of 5, they'll be asked to separate up into a group of 3 and a pair. The intention here is to ensure that large groups of students do not gather together to reduce the risk of transmission. Students are expected to wear full Academy uniform in September as normal. New uniform is available through online ordering from both NK Sports and Dean & Sons for delivery and click and collect. And if you refer to my letter of the 26th of June, which is on the website, you will get further details on uniform. However, on days where students have PE or dance lessons, they can come to school wearing their Academy PE kit instead of uniform if they choose. This will reduce mixing of different year groups of students in the changing rooms. On these days, students should bring their Academy uniform as a change of clothes in case they get particularly muddy or sweaty in their PE or dance lesson, but they will be allowed to remain in their PE kit all day if they choose. We've been working really closely with North Somerset and with Baker's Dolphin to reinstitute home to school transport from September. The government guidance makes it clear that social distancing does not apply on dedicated school transport. We therefore expect the school buses to operate at full capacity from September, with the following additional measures in place. Firstly, students travelling on coaches or minibuses to school will be seated in year group zones on the buses to reduce mixing. Year 7 will be at the front, then followed by Year 8, further back will be Year 9, Year 10, Year 11, and any sixth formers travelling on the bus will be seated in the back rows. Secondly, all passengers on school transport, including minibuses, must wear face coverings. Students without a face covering will not be permitted to travel. Face coverings should be removed once students have disembarked on their arrival at school. We'll be significantly reorganising the coach loop at the start and end of the school day. In particular, at the end of the day, students who travel on coaches and minibuses will not be allowed to proceed to the coach loop until their vehicle is ready to receive them. There'll be dedicated waiting areas in school for the W1, W2, W3 and W4 buses, and for the second run of local authority buses, to avoid crowding and mixing on the coach loop. Precise details of these locations will be provided to students in September. We would still encourage as many students as possible to walk or cycle to school. Not only does being out in the open reduce the risk of transmission, but it's also the healthier option and reduces the Academy's carbon footprint. We continue to work really closely with the local authority and with community groups to improve the walking and cycling infrastructure around the Academy to make it easier for our students to travel sustainably. My letter of the end of term will also give further details about how we're supporting cycling to school. All students are expected to attend school full-time as normal from September. If your child is feeling particularly anxious about returning, please discuss this with their tutor or a key worker from student services as soon as possible so that arrangements can be made to support them. The golden rule around attendance is that if you have any symptoms, you must stay at home. Students who have symptoms of COVID-19 must not attend the academy under any circumstances. If someone in the student's household has symptoms or a positive test, those students should not attend and should self-isolate for 14 days. If a person in the household is symptomatic but subsequently tests negative, self-isolation can end and students can return to school if they are symptom-free. We would urge everyone to refer to the NHS guidance on self-isolation for more information. And just to be clear, absence for self-isolation will always be authorised. We've got a well-established enhanced cleaning response within the academy based on our experience from both exam support and frontline. Rooms will be cleaned frequently. Touch points, such as door handles, light switches, buttons on lifts and so on, will be cleaned multiple times every day, as will toilet facilities. All staff will have access to cleaning materials to ensure surfaces are kept clean. Computers in IT suites and shared equipment in design and technology rooms will be wiped down before and after each use. Whilst our cleaning staff do a wonderful job, the cleanliness and hygiene of the site is the responsibility of all of us. We will be expecting all our students to keep the academy spotlessly clean. This is especially true of the toilet and hand washing facilities. We expect every item of litter to be disposed of in a bin. Due to the success of Google Classroom during our closure, we'll be moving all homework over to Google Classroom from September. A separate Google Classroom will automatically be generated for each class in our timetable. This will be accessible for students using their academy email address and password. The homework function in Insight will be switched off over the summer holidays. Parents, carers and family members will be offered the chance to set themselves up as Google Classroom Guardians. This is a special role which will provide you with a weekly email summary of all homework set, completed and due, so that you can support homework at home. And further details will be provided to you about this in September. Overnight trips are not currently allowed to take place. Day trips require additional risk assessments and staffing. It's therefore unlikely that any trips and visits will go ahead in Term 1 up to the October half term. We hope to be able to continue our programme of trips and visits later in the year, but this will depend on the public health advice nearer the time. If you have already paid for a trip which is subsequently cancelled, we will ensure that you are refunded. We hope to resume our programme of extracurricular activities wherever possible within the government's guidelines, and a revised programme of extracurricular activities will be published in September. We want to keep closely in touch with parents, families and the academy community. Wherever possible, we'll do this electronically, over the phone, using video conferencing or via email. Any non-essential visits to the academy site should be avoided. Face-to-face meetings are only possible by pre-booked appointment, and you'll be offered a phone call or a video call in the first instance if you need to speak to us at the academy. We would urge all parents and carers not to come to the academy unannounced, as we will not be able to safely accommodate meeting you. The programme of scheduled information evenings in the autumn will be provided as video presentations with follow-up questions via email. And we're currently reviewing the format of open evenings and parents' evenings, and will provide further information on these in due course. The timescale for bringing students back in September is as follows. On Tuesday the 1st of September, we are having an inset day which is staff only to prepare for the reopening of the school. On Wednesday the 2nd of September, we'll have a transition day and the academy will be open to Year 7 and Year 12 only. This is because Year 7 and Year 12 were not able to have their normal transition arrangements in the summer term. On Thursday the 3rd of September, the academy will be open to Year 7, Year 11, Year 12 and Year 13 only, and that's to ensure that we get those exam classes set up and ready for their curriculum. Finally, on Friday the 4th of September, all year groups will be open and the academy will be open to all of those students. And from Monday the 7th of September, it's business as usual, with every student expected to attend the academy. Finally, this has been the most difficult period of time that many of us will ever have experienced. We're delighted the government has said that students and staff can return in September, which is exactly what we were all hoping for. Sticking closely to the new processes and systems will, we hope, ensure that we can remain open for the foreseeable future and return to a new normality. None of us are suggesting that this will be achieved easily or quickly, but I know that it must be achieved together. Thank you for all you have done to support our Academy community during this time. We're all so grateful to you and looking forward to seeing our students again. 1.5 foot taller, no doubt, but every bit as kind, curious and determined as ever. I'll see you in September.